All right. Excited to be here as we're talking about strategic planning, why 90% of business owners fall short, and how to break ahead. So, Manny, we've been connecting with our community and we've got the strategic planning event coming up. And let's talk about why, number one, this is something important that business owners should be thinking about and considering to put focus on.
Well, it's important because if you're not planning ahead, you're kind of wasting your time. And as you know, if you're not thinking about the vision of what you want to build, a lot of times you can end up just building something that you didn't even realize you were doing, and time passes by, and then you look back and you're like, where am I at? So it's important for us to look ahead and not just be stuck in the day to day.
Right. So we can find, you can look at we're coming up in the end of the year, we're coming into December as we're recording this, and people can look back of all the goals they had put and they wanted to achieve this year. Some people will say, I achieved my goals. Others will be, maybe I did not. And there's probably a lot in between, maybe some partially completed goals, a lot of half-built bridges out there. But as we're starting to talk about the 90%, the thing that people are missing, what is one of the big challenges that people are not looking at that are missing? What is the problem?
But I think everyone's having the same challenges. Is you've got a lot of things going on. There's a lot of information. Everyone's strapped for time, and thing is, it's like you're essentially doing what's showing up on your desk, putting out fires, and you're stuck working in the business. And unless you're being mindful and taking the time to sit back and work on the business and have a process that you're using, there's no uh, checkpoints to make sure that you're making that progress, and there's no accountability. And then at the end of the time frame, you look back and you realize that you didn't achieve that goal, or you look up and it's too late to make adjustments based on where you wanted to be and where you're at.
Now, speaking of which, if you're tuning into this, one of the things that we're going to be sharing is a scorecard. You can chat in the word scorecard, and we'll give you a copy of our growth scorecard and how you can use it to make sure that you're making traction with the goals and the actions that you're taking. And we're going to dive in a bit deeper to some of the ways that you can look at what you're tracking to make sure that you're actually making progress. Are you tracking things proactively or are you being reactive? Meaning you were just hitting on a point that came up in the book, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And he talked about the importance of making sure that you're not just being reactive. That's the whirlwind, the day to day. It pulls us into that attention. It has us putting out fires. It has us responding to the emails or the phone calls that are coming in or the text messages. Or we have our clients or employees or people who are coming to us with things that need to be addressed. And that keeps us working in the business, but prevents us from working on the business. So, what advice do you typically share when you're connecting with people that are running into that problem? And they're like, I don't have time to work on the business.
Yeah, well, if you don't make the time to work on the business, you're going to spend more time working in it. And it's funny you mentioned the seven habits. Both my kids, I think you've dealt with this too in their schools. They go through the seven habits, and it's great because they're learning this in school and elementary school, which a lot of times we didn't get the opportunity. And I think it's really important that they're thinking ahead. They're thinking about the end, being proactive. And I think business owners, if they can start to look ahead and think about the challenges, the hurdles, and things that might be coming up, and have a plan of how they're going to respond to it. And there's a difference between respond and react, where you can have the response that you want so that you can move through those challenges and be able to have a positive end goal or result. If you're waiting till those things happen to you, you're not thinking ahead and considering what might happen, your response is typically not going to be the best response that could be. So a little bit of planning can go a long way, and it can help you achieve what you're looking to achieve much faster.
And that's why we're facilitating this strategic planning event. I'm not going to date it right now, but you can go to growthamplifiers.com and check out our upcoming strategic planning event. What we are building into the future is we're planning on doing quarterly strategic planning events. Now, at the year's end, we would obviously plan for the upcoming year, but then you're wanting to also check in throughout the year to make sure that you're making progress. What tends to happen is people set goals, right in the beginning of the year, and in James Clear's best-selling book Atomic Habits, he shares that setting goals can help you define a direction, but it's really the systems and the processes that we implement that can help us achieve those goals. And so now let's start getting into some systems that we're leveraging and we're going to be sharing in this strategic planning event so that you, people who are tuning in, can actually make sure that you're achieving your goals and not just checking the box. This requires awareness. It requires taking new actions to achieve new results. And this is what we have outlined in our upcoming book that we're launching at the beginning of 2026, The Amplified Advisor. So let's talk about the Amplified Growth System. High level.
Yeah. So it all starts off with what a lot of us, may have done in a workshop, but we don't think about it a lot, is the fuel. What's that bigger why behind what you're doing? It's the vision of where you want to be. And it's essentially the driver of pushing you forward. And if you don't have that bigger vision, that kind of North Star that you're pointing towards, then, you're just kind of winging it, right? So that's that first stage. Our next stage is really being able to prioritize what makes the most sense in terms of helping us shorten the gap between where we want to be and where we're at. And we're able to make sure that we're working on the things that are going to have the biggest impact with the most confidence and the most ease. And from there, we can move on into the other stages. And so, Kenny, stage number 3, I know you like it, and it ties into some of the stuff that we're talking about. If you want to share a little bit about stage number 3.
Actually, I would love to, for people, if you're interested in getting all the stages, you can go to our website and download our advisor's guide. We have it right there on the website. You can get a copy of it and look over that for yourself. We want to give this framework away because it is our mission to help entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants and advisors amplify. When we're helping you become more effective and transform and take new actions to achieve new results, that's how we're going to make a bigger impact in this world. So I'm excited to share that with you. Now, we're going to dive in deeper right now. Business owners fall short and how to break it. So that's what we talked about. And this framework goes over each of those parts. But right now we're going to dive into a particular area is the scorecard. It's tracking metrics. And I want to share my screen because this was what tends to happen. This is from Atomic Habits. People, they start, they want to get in shape, right? They start working out. They go to the gym. They're working out for maybe a couple weeks. They're like, where are my 6-pack abs? They're not there. On this diagram, we have the results. These are the results that we want to achieve over time. And this is the time. And what we want to see is we just start working out and start getting ripped right out the gate. But what tends to happen is we're making progress, but we don't see the results. And James, in this book, refers to this stage as the valley of disappointment. As Manny mentioned, the first part of the Amplified Growth System is to become fueled, to become motivated. And I just want to tie that back in right here, right now. If you're not amplified, if you're not driven, if you're not fueled up to get in the ring and really play full out, how do you think that's going to impact you here? Manny, can you think of a time when you weren't making the traction that you wanted to? And actually, you could think about maybe when you first were starting your water polo coaching initially. You put some effort in, weren't seeing the impact, but then through time, you continue to put it in and you saw a tremendous impact. Can you share us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I think the easiest way to speak to that is, I coach a youth water polo team, And each day you're seeing the kids play, so you're not seeing the changes as much. But then when you go to a tournament and you see them compete against other kids, it is really apparent how far that they've come and the progress that they've made, both individually and as a team. And as you were stating, Kenny, it's like each day you're making small progress, but it doesn't feel like it. But then when you get it back into a competition where it's been months since you've seen someone else, you're able to, perform better, get better results, improve your standing, and sometimes come out on top. And that's when you really look back and you're like, wow, we've come a long ways.
Thank you. And now, here's something that a lot of business owners get caught up in. It's when tracking progress. A lot of them will be tracking the results. It's important to track results. You want to track results. If whether you're in a sports game or you're in business, you want to know, are you making progress? You need to track results. However, what's more important than just tracking the results? What do you think, Manny?
Track an action.
Right. Results or lag metrics, these are lagging. They'll show you the results that you're trying to achieve. They're important. You want to pay attention to them. However, what you can influence and what you can act upon are the lead measures, the leading results. This influences future performance. And so paying attention to lead measures, acting on lead measures, is one of the principles from the 4 disciplines of execution. And it's actually integrated into the amplified growth system, which we've been referring to earlier. It's the execute stage. So we have this event coming up. We invite you to come, and we invite you to plan for your 2026. We're going to be sharing some frameworks, some tools, and some resources to help you get focus, clarity, make sure that you're creating goals that are aligned towards your vision. You have a clear plan of how you're going to get those ideas into action. And then we also want to make sure that you're building the discipline of measuring the results and looking at those lead and lag measures, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's taking the actions that will influence and predict the results on a consistent basis is how you can really break through and transform as a leader and as a business.
Yeah, and just a quick reminder, if you comment scorecard, we're going to share our template with you for that scorecard so that you can be able to start to track your numbers and be able to make sure that you're making progress as well.
And I'd like to just share that right now. Earlier today, I'm not going to name any names or put anyone on the spot, because when we do amplified business breakthroughs, we provide fresh perspective to those that we're connecting with to help them see their blind spots, bottlenecks, and untapped opportunities. And I had one of those conversations earlier today, and this professional has been a coach for 30 years and knows what it takes to be successful in business. They're very successful in their business. They're an expert. And they were spending a lot of money having someone put together a dashboard looking at a lot of analytics. Analytics are good. You need to know your numbers. However, what is the challenge that we commonly see with analytics, Manny?
Well, sometimes you'll have analytics that aren't tied to your overall goal or objective. And, it's great to track some numbers, but if they're just vanity numbers, they may not move the needle.
Right. If we're just looking at a bunch of numbers, that's all we're doing is looking at them, but we're not acting on them. We're not taking new actions. We're not really analyzing them and saying, how can we improve them? Then we're missing the big picture. And the discipline that we're connecting with people, whether you're coming to our strategic planning workshop or you're working with us one-on-one or you're part of our community, we want to make sure that you're really clear, not trying to track a whole bunch of things all at once. That's just going to overwhelm you, and you're probably not going to make much traction with it. We want to make sure you're really clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve. Be specific, make sure that it's aligned with your vision, and then making sure that you and or your team are taking the actions to influence and predict the outcome. And then, are you moving the needle? What insights have we witnessed, Manny, when we're working with clients to develop a growth scorecard and build this discipline?
Well, a couple things. One, it changes the conversation, right? Because when you're looking at those numbers and you're following the advice that you were just stating with, are we actually moving the needle on this? It starts to change the conversations in terms of being conversations around things that are impactful to the business because they're tied to critical numbers that impact the overall objectives of the company. And when you're having those conversations and then you make progress on them, it's a whole different feeling for not only the business owner, but for the team because they feel like they're moving the company forward, they're achieving goals, they're making progress, and now they can start to see what's possible.
So that's a great example. So going back to this breakthrough I was having earlier, what she realized is that she had been getting referrals, right? She had been getting referrals in her business, but they're happening organically. There hadn't been a systemized way to get more referrals. She wasn't educating her contacts or clients who she was looking to connect with. She wasn't asking them in any systematic way. She wasn't making it super easy. So I said, what would be possible if you really put focus and attention between you and your team to make sure that your contacts and connections and advocates knew who your ideal customers were, made it really easy for them to make introductions and referrals, and then occasionally asked and incentivized them. Do you think that would have an impact on your business? She said, of course it would. That would probably have one of our best years ever if we did that. I don't know why we haven't been doing that. I've been doing this for 30 years. How could I not be doing that? Because we can all get blind spots. We can all get bottlenecks because we're so close to what we're doing. So if you haven't seen it yet, Growth Amplifiers actually has a challenge, free challenge that we put together that's sharing a process of how you can create your own referral system. We're giving it away. We want to give it away to other coaches, consultants, and advisors because we want to build allies, amplifier allies who are out there in the world who are serving a similar mission but use different knowledge and expertise. Potentially, we could collaborate on workshop, webinar, and just be friends to each other. So we're sharing this referral challenge out there. If you want to join our mission that we're putting together in 2026 to amplify and elevate, then you can go there. It's free, and it's just walking you through a process to get more referrals on a consistent basis. Meaning, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, referrals are something that's an afterthought, as you mentioned, Kenny. Like people feel like they're coming organically, which is great when things are good, but when an industry is challenged or new technology is coming in and making things tougher to get new clients, that's when referrals start to dry up. So if you don't have that system in place and you're not proactively working on those things to make it more systematic and consistent, when they dry up, usually it's too late to be taking action because it's going to take a while to start to get that pipeline working again. So the sooner that you can do this, make it part of what you're doing, the better benefit and safeguarding of your business that you'll be able to do.
And if you think for the moment that asking for a referral is selfish, you're thinking it with the wrong lens. If you believe in what you do, then you want to make sure that you're asking just for an introduction and just say, who do you know that would be beneficial for me to connect to? You believe in what you do and you can help people solve the challenges and get rid of the pains that are ailing them and help them achieve what they want to achieve and get their desired results. Then all you're doing is sharing, and sharing is caring. That's why we're sharing. And we, again, are going to share our growth scorecard. If you put in scorecard into the chat, just put scorecard and we'll just give you the link to get a free copy of the scorecard we have. And then you can get the training and more if you sign up to our upcoming strategic planning event. The first thing you'll get access to is our training that walks you through a reflective exercise, because we don't learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on our experience. We've got to take the moment to look back, reflect, deal with the past, learn from the lessons that we've picked up, and then apply it towards the future. Then in our upcoming date, we'll actually walk you through some of the framework that we have so that you can have clarity on where you're at and start making a plan to get to where you want to go. Then throughout the year, in the upcoming year, we'll have some check-in workshops for those who want to make sure that they're not falling off, that they're making progress, and they have some accountability to make sure that they're taking new actions to achieve their new desired results. So Manny, if you could put the workshop in one more time, that'd be great. And kind of a recap on our lessons as we're talking about strategic planning, why 90% of business owners fall short and how to break ahead. You got to make the time. You got to make it a priority. When the oxygen masks fall in the airport, what do they tell you? You put your own mask on first. You got to make it a priority to work on your business. And then you got to set goals. That's why we do strategic planning. We got to set goals towards our vision. And then we've got to track and measure to make sure that we're making progress. And if you didn't pick this up from earlier, you want to make sure that you're not just looking at a whole bunch of data. Get really clear on what are the most important metrics to measure. Put your focus and attention on there, because what you focus on grows. Look at the lead measures and metrics, those actions that will influence the result, and the lag measures. Manny, if you could wrap us up, then we'll get on our way.
Yes, so make sure that you register for our December 11th strategic workshop. And one of the things I just want to highlight before we sign off here is the cost of inaction. A lot of times we have different things that we can do, but if you're not strategically planning, you're going to be spinning your wheels, you're going to be wasting time and money, and you're going to be frustrated. So if you're coming into the end of the year and you're like, I'm really not where I thought I was going to be or where I want to be, this is the event for you. Or if you had a great year and you're like, what, I want to take it up another level next year and amplify even more, join us on December 11th. Look forward to seeing everyone there.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much, and catch up on a future episode.